Once upon a time, not so long ago, there was an old-time downtown that had more value than gold. Imagine being a part of the most historical and prosperous African American communities in the United States. At a time when the KKK thrived in the streets of Oklahoma and racial inequality continued to flourish. In 1921, a neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma called the Greenwood District was a bustling community. The Greenwood District was home to about 10,000 African American residents and business owners. The Greenwood area was one of the most affluent African American neighborhoods in the United States, nicknamed the Black Wall Street. This is where one of the nation's worst episodes of violence took place. It has been called the single worst incident of racial violence in American history by the Oklahoma Historical Society. Today you will learn about what sparked this tragedy, the gruesome reality of it, and the aftermath of the devastating destruction of the Tulsa Massacre of 1921. Let's begin with May 30, 1921, in downtown Tulsa, Oklahoma. There was an incident involving a 17-year-old girl and a 19-year-old man. The girl was Sarah Page, an American elevator operator in the building called the Drexel Building. The man was Dick Rowland, an African American man who shined shoes downtown. On this day, Rowland took an elevator to the top floor of the Drexel Building to access the only public bathrooms available to African men and women. It was reported that Sarah Page began to scream, and they were both seen running out of the elevator. No one knows exactly what happened in the elevator, but a day later, Rowland was arrested and taken to the courthouse. According to the Oklahoma Historical Society, Sarah Page refused to press charges. On May 31st, 1921, the Tulsa Tribune, the city's afternoon daily newspaper, reported that Rowland had attempted to sexually assault Page. The editorial in the Tulsa newspaper called for a lynching, and in response, a white mob gathered at lawn of the Tulsa County Courthouse. This caused several dozen African American men to march down to the courthouse to protect Rowland. Inevitably, both mobs contained armed men, resulting in a struggle. Furthermore, because of the union of these two mobs, conflict arose and shots were inevitably fired. This resulted in the riot. Over the next 6 hours, Tulsa was plunged into chaos as angry residents, frustrated over the failed lynching, began to vent their anger and rage at African American residents. During the early hours of the conflict, local authorities did little to stem the growing crisis, according to the Oklahoma Historical Society. Furious fighting erupted, and many African Americans tried to hold off the mob, but eventually failed. The mob started to make its way through downtown Tulsa and African American residential neighborhoods, shooting and devastating everyone and everything. By midnight, fires had set along the edge of the African American commercial district. Local units of the National Guard were mobilized, but they spent most of the night protecting a white neighborhood from a feared but non-existent African American counterattack, according to the Oklahoma Historical Society. Shortly before dawn on June 1st, thousands of armed Americans gathered along the fringes of Greenwood. When daybreak came, they poured into the African American district, looting homes, businesses, and then setting them on fire. African American Tulsans fought hard to protect their homes and businesses. In the end, they were simply outgunned and outnumbered. More than 800 people were admitted to hospitals, and as many as 6,000 African American residents were interned at large facilities. According to the Oklahoma Bureau of Vital Statistics, the Oklahoma Bureau of Vital Statistics officially recorded 36 dead, but the American Red Cross declined to provide an estimate. The Oklahoma Commission to Study the Tulsa Race Riot of 1921 gave overall estimates from 75 to 100 to 150 to 300 deaths. That brings us to the aftermath of the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921. The massacre was largely hidden from local state and national histories for decades. CNN reported that State Senator Kevin Matthews described the 99-year-old killings as Tulsa's dirty secret. About 10,000 African American people were left homeless, and property damage amounted to more than $1.5 million in real estate and $750,000 in personal property. This is equivalent to $32.25 million in 2019. The Oklahoma Educational Department is adding the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre to its curriculum for the first time in 2020. Students from elementary through high school will be required to learn about the massacre starting this fall in 2020. Additionally, scientists located 4 potential mass graves sites using ground-penetrating radar, and in December of 2019 announced anomalies at 2 of them, indicating that they could be mass graves. One site which officials plan to excavate this spring was within the Oakland Cemetery. No date has been set for the excavation of the other site, which is nestled along the banks of the Arkansas River. In conclusion, the massacre sparked over the Memorial Day weekend after 19-year-old Dick Rowland was accused of sexually assaulting Sarah Page, the 17-year-old elevator operator of the Drexel building. The devastating reality of this massacre revolves around the countless deaths of the Greenwood District community. This resulted in the hidden aftermath of the Tulsa Race Massacre. State Senator Kevin described the 99-year-old killings as Tulsa's dirty secret. Now the Tulsa Race Massacre will be in the Oklahoma school curriculum forever.